Hey crafters, Big D here, and this week we're doing part 2 of our Savage base. We're doing the walkways and some barricades and some ramps. So sit tight, hang loose, and we're going to come right back to what we got on the table. Okay, crafters, so now, to go along with our Savage dilapidated fort, we're going to start building some scatter material, some barriers and some walls and just some junk to fit in with the terrain and make it look like a nice cohesive piece of terrain. So again, we're going to need mostly the same materials as we did before. We need the bamboo sticks, the coffee stirrers. We're going to use some skewers. We need our twine string, and we're going to need those pegs. Now, the nice thing is we're going to be able to use the pegs that we cut off from last time. We're going to use a lot of these. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to build some barriers. I'm planning on building 4 barriers. So each barrier is going to have 2 of these on each piece. So you're going to need, if I'm going to build 4 barriers, I need 8 of these. And the cutoffs work perfect for this. So we're going to take the 8 cutoffs, and we're going to take our pencil sharpener, and we're just going to put a slight cleanup at the top. We're not trying to make them sharp and sticky outy, just so they look like rough hewn with an axe. Okay, so now we got 8 of these. Now, once again, cutting away from yourself, you're going to use a heavy-duty knife, and you're just going to chip and nick at this just to make it not so perfectly round. We want it to look roughed up. And then after you've nicked and carved it up some to make it look not so perfectly round, near the top here, you're going to want to dig out a nice divot on each of them. And the reason you want this divot is you want to have a place where the 2 of them will have a point where they rest against each other with a little bit of an inset. Alright, so go ahead and take your pieces here. These are all about 5 centimeters long or so, and you're going to want to rough them up, make them look like they're rough hewn logs, and then carve out that divot near the top. And we'll come back when we have that done. Alrighty, so we've got our pieces all roughed up and we've got them notched, and now we're just gonna glue them up and then detail them a little bit before we create the assemblies. So all you need to do, nice thing about wood, you just drop a small drop of super glue there, put the next piece right there on top of it, so those 2 concave portions get right up against each other. And then we go back to our tried and tested baking soda. And we have our crossbars put together. Then after you put the crossbars together, you're going to want to take some of this string, and this is just to detail it up. So get a nice long piece tie a knot like that, and then go around the top and the bottom. One more that way. And then one more around the main body. And actually tie this part off in a knot. And there now looks like you got this nicely roped together. And you can trim it off here, and you can just use the trimmed off pieces for the next couple you do. Make sure it doesn't come loose. Just drop a small drip of super glue on there. And again, now it's all glued together. It's got some rope on there for some detailing, and this is really great. So build the rest of yours out, and I'm going to build the rest of mine out, and then we'll show you how to build the stands. So get this piece all set up on all of them, and we'll come back. All right, so we've got our 8 hobby horse, basically, is what we're making. We've got these 8 sides made. Now I've already glued 2 up so you can see what we're doing. We're basically taking a length of skewer, making 2 shorts and 2 longs. So you want to just kind of roughly pop off the end, and if there's any threads or strings that come off, just use something to clip them off neatly. I found a very cheap pair of cuticle trimmers. Does a great job for this. Now you want one that's going to be about 3.5 inches long. That one will make you a nice 3-inch long one. And you're going to want one that's about 6.5 inches long. And that'll make a long one. So in this case, it's really simple. You've got your 2. You just have your glue ready. Put it down, hold it in place, just put a drop of glue, there you go. All right, and then you do the same thing the other side. Now the reason I like making these kind of barricades, again, they're useful for both Warcry and Kill Team. For Kill Team, they just make a temporary barricade that you can go over with. With Kill Team, I think it's you have to measure to the top of the barricade and then down. You just add that to your movement. And then for Warcry, I think if they're spiky in that one and you're trying to get over them, there's just a die roll, and you may or may not take damage going over them. So they're a really nice way to add some extra cover in the game without it being impassable, making some, you know, rough areas of terrain. I enjoy there being alternate means of getting around the board. So that's part of the reason why I like this kind of scatter terrain. All right, so here we go. And we got now 2 shorts and 2 longs. So these will make a couple of really nice barricades. Now to make this a nice restrictive barricade, you're going to want to make these things look like they're believably secure. So one of the things you're probably going to want to do is take some more skewer, and just like you did to make the upper bar, you're going to want to make a lower bar. And then again, you're just going to glue it on. The nice thing about it is it's not going to take much, and you're going to use some string afterwards to make it look like it's lashed in place. So, single drop. And some of that capillary action. And you've got it on. And just like we did with the upper portion, I'm going to take a bit of string, and there you go. Got a nice tied on piece. You got to do the same for the other barricades, for the other side. Trim it off, drop a drop of glue right on top of the knot. And that's never going to come loose. And then you're going to have a nice place to line your barricade walls up on. So get those crossbars on, and then we're going to start cutting planks. Okay, so we've got our little reinforcements tied on and glued in place. This nice solid structure. So now we're just going to start adding on our pieces. Now, these are just the cocktail stirrers, or the coffee stirrers, actually. We take the clippers, we just kind of bend off that bottom rounded part, and then we're kind of snapping them. And we're not cutting them, we're just roughly snapping them about 2 inches long. And it's okay if we get some jagged edges or some pieces or some unevenness, that's okay. The big thing is that we want to not let these rounded pieces be on there, because those don't look natural break. And when we put them in place, we want to make sure we're putting them in place so that they're not all up on each other. We want a little bit of space to lay some twine in between them so that we can show that these are lashed on. So you get your first one in place, looking at it here. And then it's just a drop of glue. There we go. We got a board in place. And then you do the same thing. A little bit of space. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight, it doesn't have to be perfectly aligned. And we're doing this just kind of like we did those floorboards on the other piece. And again, it's okay if these boards aren't all perfectly the same height, they're not all perfectly the same length, they aren't the same distance apart every time. That's all okay. Alright, so you see how this is going. Let me get these all boarded up, and then we're going to go over the twine and how we're going to detail that upper area. So we'll be right back. Alright, check this out. So now we've got all of our boards nicely planked up. Got some nice barriers. Now we just want to put some more detailing on them. And as we go back to our string here. And this is the whole reason we went with that gap. So we're just going to tie it off when we're done. But you're going to start off with the gap here and just weave it back and forth. And then once you got that interwoven, you can just tie these two ends together. And then you can either fancy it up, tie it up some more, or just trim it off tight. And then again, you're just going to drop a little bit of super glue on the string itself. And then you're going to do the same thing on the bottom and on each of the other ones. And again, this is just mainly to add some visual interest and show how the people who put this ramshackle thing together locked it all together. Yes, if you could wind in between, that'd be great. That's a lot of extra effort. This is just to give it a nice look. So go ahead and do that. Do it to all your pieces, and then set them aside because that'll be done. And then we're going to come back and we're going to do some ramps and show how we do some ramps and my difference for stairs with these, because I think in this ramshackle people aren't going to build stairs. They're going to build ladders, or they're going to build some crude ramps. So get your string set up and we'll come back. Alright, so now we're going to be making some ramps and some, you can call them bridges or just walkways. Thank you, Lady Dragon.
You're very welcome.
So, for the walkways, we're going to be using logs, and for the ramps, we're going to be using planks. So, again, anytime we're dealing with logs, as always, when we're using these round dowels, you're going to want to use the pencil sharpener and make the ends not so perfect the way they are. And then you're going to take your knife, and always drawing away from yourself, you're going to notch them up and square them up and make them look not so perfect. You're going to want, for each ramp you do, you're going to want, I've got my sticks cut about 6 inches long, and I figure I'm going to use 5 of these on there. So you put one in the middle, one near each end, and then split the difference with the other 2. And you don't want to have that perfectly measured out. You kind of want to have them on rough, because again, these are supposed to look like these were cobbled together and ramshackled together. For the logs, you're going to take 5 full-length logs, and again, you're going to semi-round off the ends with the pencil sharpener and notch them up, and a nice walkway is about 5 wide. And then we're just going to use some simple slats and some twine to hold them together, and then we'll glue it all up. So your first step is to take these pieces, get your pencil sharpener, get your knife, and make them look like rough-hewn axe cut logs. Get that done and we'll come back and we'll go over assembly. So, roughed up logs. Look at these. They're beautiful. Beautiful logs. Aren't these beautiful logs, sweetheart? These are beautiful. Nice roughed up logs.
Do you really want my opinion?
No, I don't. I don't really care.
Well, in that case, let me tell you what I think.
Alright. So, logs. Small logs. And again, we go back to our boards. And, where the clippers go? Where the clippers are?
Which clippers?
Those ugly ones.
These ones?
Yes. Ugly clippers.
Okay, you might want to try
Oh no, this is all live.
Alright, well, it's a good thing I'm not trying to check my shirt again.
Alright, so let's start with our walkway. So the easiest way to start with this is we're going to take our string and we're just going to weave it right about the middle of pieces. with them nice and flat, we're going to take a piece of our slat here, snap it off, and give me a bottle of super glue. We cleaned up everything today and put everything away. I love my wife. She helps me out all the time.
Most of the time.
When she's not stealing my pieces.
Ah, but you love it when I steal from you, darling. Turnabout's a reply, after all.
A little bit of super glue. Put it down. A little super glue on the edge. And then with them held together like this, we're going to weave them again, but we're going in a circular pattern. And then now once again, just a little bit of glue.
Now you have instant moss growth on the bottom. Oh wait, sorry, wrong tutorial.
And now we've got it nicely locked together. Trim off this excess. And we've got the center piece. And then we're basically going to do the same thing with the two ends. We won't be able to do the nice weaving portion. But we will try our best. Again, just going for a look. And that's the thing to remember, is that the glue is the real workhorse here. The rest of this is just for looks. And there we go. And it's nice that we just kind of threaded it around and tied it off where we could to make it look really ramshackle. But if you actually physically feel this thing, this is really firmly together. The super glue and baking soda really makes that resin hard plastic-like lock material. And when it soaks into the string, it turns the string into that same kind of material. So once we get some paint on this thing, it's going to be great. But this is how we make the walkways. I suggest making at least one. You want to have one to go on over the top of the gate, but you might want to make 2 or 3 just to connect a couple pieces together. I'm going to probably make 2 to go with my set. So that is the walkway. The next we're going to do is building a ramp. Let me clear this off and we'll show you how we do that. Okay, so now doing the ramps. For doing these ramps, we're again working with the coffee stirrers. We've got them trimmed so they're about 6 inches long, and we've just squared off the edges. And unfortunately with the other ones, when you want them all roughed off, you kind of want these flat because they're going to lay like this. So you kind of want to have them so they lay flat, they're not all cockeyed and falling all over the place. So they do kind of got to be, at least one end's got to be nice and flush. But we're doing the same thing with them that we just did with the walkway. We're just kind of doing it in reverse. So we're once again, we're going to take a piece of the string, we're going to wrap it around the middle of our bar here. And because these are a little lighter, you kind of got to construct them one at a time. And I've kind of found this out by doing these kind of regularly, they're, unlike with the logs, they can't just lay there because they're a little lighter weight, so they'll kind of scatter all over the place. And there we go. So we've got the middle part put together. It's a nice, looks like a nice strong put together hash. We cut off this piece here. And that's the foundation. So this is nice and strong and nice and stable. And when it's set up as a ramp, characters will run up it and it'll look fine. Now we're just gonna glue a couple more on. And the string for these does not need to be nearly as detailed because they're just there for the look at this point. And there we go. Look at that. The middle part looks nice because I used that to lash together, and the rest of it looks kind of haphazardly tucked together. And boom. You've got a really solid ramp that, just to give you an idea here, you can use it like this, or if you're concerned about figures rolling off, you can have it this way, and that way you've got the lashes to set the figures against to keep them from sliding down so you can keep your measurements accurate. So I would suggest you make a couple of these for your set as well. So that completes our build for the accessories and scatter terrain. I would potentially make a few other pieces of scatter terrain, but that's going to be the taste. I'm thinking about taking one of those dowels that I did. I'm going to mark it up some and make it look like just a spike, and put it on a pile of skulls, and maybe have some rope and some bones hanging around it as like a marker, or
possibly he might even get lucky and get a custom banner to put up. They can be interchanged. So
there's all kinds of stuff you can do as an addition. This is just to get a working set going. So a couple of walkways, couple of ramps, those barricades we made, and we've got a nice working set. We're going to come back next week and we're going to do the detailing. So we're going to show you how we paint this whole set up. So thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you next time. Game on.